Hey, this is Mike Koenigs, and welcome to this episode of the Webcast Profit Toolkit. I actually changed the name. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment, but this is all about you. I'm here to answer your questions. I'm really looking forward, and I'm happy you're here. So make sure you provide a little shout out here. I'll be watching your chats throughout the program today. I already see you're in there right now, and the chats are coming in. So without further ado, I am going to go through what to expect today and what we're going to do together. So I'm going to just display both of these screens simultaneously. In fact, I'm going to adjust it a little bit. I am operating today with my fancy, trusty TriCaster, and this is the TriCaster Mini, if I haven't talked about that before. I know I have. And there it is. So now I'm a little bit closer to you. And you can see over here I've got my screen, my Macintosh showing up. But I'm using webcasting to actually train and teach you right now. And there's a lot has been happening since I did my last session, an enormous amount of new findings and research. And in fact, as I'm sitting here right now, I have our entire studio is busy because on the other side of the wall is JJ Virgin getting ready to do an all-day live cast tomorrow as of right now. And then the week following, I'll be producing a couple other additional live casts that are going to be promoting the Webcast Profit Toolkit. Now, I changed the name of the product for an interesting reason, and this is something that I would regard as being important to know about and think about for you in the future as well. And that is, sometimes you want to make certain that your product is a proper market to message match or message to market match. And in this particular case, I did some research, and it turns out that the term livecast simply isn't a frequently used term in the industry, in the professional industry or otherwise. So what I decided to do is I did some research, and the term live stream, which is another term, is actually one that is trademarked, so I certainly didn't want to use that either. And then the term webcast is one that is an industry-wide term. There's a lot of search activity for it, and it's something that corporates would also recognize too. So that's the way I chose it. So with that, what I want to do is I'm going to just go through right now. I'm going to go through and teach and train the key elements to the performed segment, and then I will be answering questions at the end. So let's continue, shall we? So I think the first thing to do is just look at what we're going to be talking about. So we're going to talk about how to create a show and present your offer, interview guests, entertain, engage, and then prepare for the close in addition to the Q&A itself. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about some success that I just had with JJ Virgin, and we just officially, as of the time I'm producing this for you, did a live streaming event at one of our other events. And here you can see an example of that where I was on stage with JJ. So we were actually at a live event, and we produced a webcast right from that event, and it is for JJ's brand new book that was just released. And the results are actually pretty darn cool. Here are a couple of the key things. Number one, we produced this live in front of a studio audience, which in itself was pretty darn cool. There were about 900 registrations, so most of that happened via social. We had about 225 people at peak, which isn't great in terms of registration to show up, but it was on a Sunday afternoon, which is not an optimal time of the day to actually do these things. And from there, we went for approximately 50 minutes, so it was very short. But despite that, we had about 60 buyers, so over 26% sales conversions, which is not bad for a very, very short show. So it told us that we've got something that we think is going to work. Now, a couple other important lessons here. This was a very, very inexpensive program. It was $57. So it's JJ's new book, which is a physical hardcover book. She's pushing this to be a bestseller. And she is also selling and providing some additional bonuses. So it's essentially a cooking show. And that's really what this next program is all about that we're going to be doing. So the key thing, though, is there's also been a few people in the community who have been successful, and they've started doing their own live casts and webcasts as well. I know Chuck has been in there doing some. Also, my friend Brad Costanzo, he actually earned over $100,000 doing a webcast, and it was very impressive. I talked to him about it, gave him some ideas and some tips and strategies. The next day, he planned it. And the following day, they ran it. So it was 2 days from the time we talked about it, and it earned over $100,000. So big congratulations there. And I know, Chuck, I watched a preview and a review of your video. Nice job. There's some things that we can do when I do a coaching session with you and talk about what's possible. So I just want you to know I'm really proud of, and I'm looking for some success stories right now. So any implementation that you've done so far, I want to feature you in my upcoming book and also at the live training event, whether you're there virtually or physically. And speaking of that, there's some links below me right now, so make sure you register for the live event. So if you qualified for the physical training to come here in San Diego, make sure that you register and get your hotel spot as soon as possible for that. And that is, as of now, it's June 8th, 9th, and 10th. That's where this entire course is going to be taught and trained remotely. And I can't wait to see you there. And I'm going to get into the hardware, the software, and the psychology of selling with Livecasts, and of course being able to answer your questions as well. So can't wait for that. So a couple things about what we're going to cover today. First of all, I'm going to talk about how to be comfortable on camera. I'm also going to talk about the critical components of influence and persuasion, how to create a show with the tools that you might want to use, and the structure of actually performing. Then I'll be talking about some specific handouts and bonuses, some of which are available right on this page right now. And then finally, I'll be answering your questions too. So I think a good place to begin with this particular segment is this time-tested phrase that originally came from Socrates. It's know thyself. And if you look at the other text down here, which is from the Tao Te Ching, it's knowing others is intelligence, knowing yourself is true wisdom, and mastering others is strength, but mastering yourself is true power. Now, why am I bringing that up as part of this training? I'll tell you why, and I'll get to that. I think one of the most valuable things you can ever do, and I just finished doing these myself, are take some personality tests. And the reason why they are so important and so valuable is because the more you understand about yourself, your particular speaking and teaching style, and what works and what doesn't work for you, and what kind of team members you have, it's going to make you a much, much better presenter and performer. Now, specifically, I'll talk about disc profiles, okay? The next one, which you can get for free, and I'm going to explain where you can get one. Another one is the Colby test. Another one is StrengthsFinder 2.0, and then Myers-Briggs, and the Enneagram. And then if you want to find some of these, you can just search for free personality tests. There's a lot of information available if you just do a little search on Google. But I'm going to show you, first of all, the result of my disc profile. If you take a look at that right now, you can see, hopefully you can see that and zoom in on it. But this is a test that's available. I'll show you exactly where to get it for free. And on the right is one, it's my Colby test. So on a disc profile, my natural style is 99, 99, S, and C. And now, D meaning what's known as usually dominance, I is influence, S is steadiness, and C is compliance. Now, those are different. There's different terms for different circumstances, and then your adaptive style is how you behave when you're being observed. In other words, I reduce my dominance and my influence, my steadiness as well, so I know a couple reasons for that, and the compliance. And then the Kolbe, I'm known as a 3195, which has actually changed a little bit. My 9, which is the big one, is what's known as a quick start in the personality world. Now, the reason why I'm showing you these, and the reason why I think they're important is, again, the more you know about yourself and your tendencies, the more likely you are to be successful, especially when you're presenting. And if you haven't done these, I can't recommend them highly enough. I'm going to show you right now where you can actually get them for free, at least a couple of them. Now, the first one is if you go to the Anthony Robbins or Tony Robbins site, there's a link under resources that says disc profile. You just click on that, and it's going to bring you to a page where you just enter your name, your email address, your phone number, your male, female. Now, they actually use this as a lead generation vehicle, and which means if you put in all your contact information, someone's probably going to follow up and try to put you in a Tony Robbins course, which frankly is a good deal, and I'm not being compensated for this because I'm just sending you right to the site. But I will tell you that the disc profile is exceptional. I know the guy who wrote and created this company. He's a really, really smart guy, and he's really been a really super person in my network. So that's the first one. Now, the next one is the Kolbe test, and you just go to kolbe.com, Kolbe. And the Kolbe A index will lead you to a page. Now, this one is not free. It's $49, but it's just 36 questions, and it's super easy. It only takes a few minutes to do, and the results, I think, are really well worth it. Now, another test that is available free of charge with this book, StrengthsFinder 2.0. You can buy the book from Amazon for around $20. And inside is a little packet you can get where you can actually take, I'll show you what it looks like. This little thing, it's like a little thing that you open up and you go to a website and you fill this in, and they'll let you take this test for free. And again, that'll show you some of your strengths. Also recommend this for any members of a team if you're in the process of developing a team. So that's the first thing. Again, can't recommend it enough. Just a little bonus tip for you. And again, if you just search on Google for free personality tests, you'll get some good information as well. So the next segment that we're going to talk about is how to be comfortable on camera. Now, the short version of this is I haven't always been on camera. I've probably been doing it now for about 12 years. But if you know my story, if you don't, the short version is when I was about 5 years old, a bunch of kids made fun of me for singing, and from that time I didn't show my voice, I didn't really show my face, and I was afraid to be on camera, on stage, and I always played behind the scenes. I think it's one of the reasons I became a programmer, even though my natural behavior, I think, is to be a connector and to be part of a group and be an extrovert. But I suppressed it for many, many years. And it wasn't until I got really interested in infomercials and video that I decided to take a wing at it, and it was really, really hard at first. So it's forced me to really pay attention to what are the formulas, what specifically makes people likable when they're on camera, on screen, and make them be able to influence and persuade. So what I'm going to give you right now are some of the biggest strategies and techniques that I've learned over the past few years, and this is how to be comfortable on camera. So, and specifically, the application I have in mind is how to connect on camera, direct talent, and turn interviews into money-making opportunities. So I think the very first thing that's really, really valuable is this notion of practicing empathy. And that means being able to speak to one person, just as I am right now. I'm doing everything I can to maintain eye contact with you at all times. Very, very important. And also, never saying, hey, you guys, or all of you. You're always actively referring and using singular language. Even when you're speaking on stage, I will say, raise your hand if, versus a lot of speakers that I think break rapport very quickly, say, hey, raise your hands if. All of you, they're treating everyone as a crowd, and no one wants to be a crowd. They want to be recognized as an individual, as being special. Next, this whole notion of focusing on your best customer. And I've written about that in Publish and Profit, which, by the way, is free of charge. On page 51, there is a whole segment on who is your book for, and it's all about how to communicate with a single individual and communicate and find out who your target market is. Next, everyone's friend is no one's friend, and there's a great saying which is, the riches are in the niches. So make certain that all of your communication feels like it's to a unique individual, and the broader you are, the less money you're going to get for your products. Okay? The next item is speaking from the heart, and that means just even do it right now. Take a big, deep breath in and out. Hold your hand on your heart. Speak to the one you love most. And I'm going to go through that one more time and illustrate that this is how, for years, I have helped people overcome their fear of being on camera. And the key thing is, if you identify one person you have helped or one person you really want to help, and act as if that one person is the only person that you are speaking to. You can even take a picture of them and tape it right underneath your camera lens if that's helpful. And then before I get on camera, I breathe in, and I hold my hand on my heart, and I get connected to my body and my emotions. And then again, I'm speaking to the one that I love most. I'm speaking and know that I really, really care about the outcome and what's going on. And this works whether you're a corporate person. I don't care who you are. If you need to, get into an emotional state by thinking about your child or your spouse, whoever you love most in your life. But then I transfer that energy to the camera as well. I make this a very emotional time. Now, a couple of bonus gifts that I will be putting inside the bonus section soon are two exercises that I produced. One's called the Halo exercise, and another one is called Your Superpowers and Fatal Flaws. I originally engineered that from my Publish and Profit course, but they're so good and I get such great feedback that I'm going to make them available in this course as well. So you can look for those soon inside the bonus section of the website. All right. So next, thinking like a producer and creating sound bites. A tendency that a lot of people have is talking too much and talking too long about the same thing and getting way too detailed. So a very, very important part of being able to connect with an audience is to get them and grab them and entertain them. So keeping it brief. And WIFM, which is what's in it for me. Get to the point. And this philosophy of tell me what you're going to tell me what you told me, and then tell me again, tell me what to do, or tell me, so it's tell me what you told me, and tell me again. And then anytime you can speak in 30-second nuggets, giving people little nice things. Like earlier, I gave you some really cool tools, like going to the Tony Robbins thing to get a free disc test. If you give people a little 30-second writer-downers, tips, tools, and techniques that are digestible and implementable immediately, it's going to make a huge difference in terms of being connectable and being memorable. The next thing is you want to make sure that everything you create is super easy to edit. And then, if you need some ideas, watch the morning TV news. That can give you some really good ideas on what is working. The news and television is a perfect model. They are in the business of getting attention, and keeping people from leaving. And it's my opinion that that is a perfect strategy to use is model television. And then finally, trying to come up with a hook. Okay, so one of my little hooks today was know thyself. Now, it really didn't have anything to do with, at least at first glance, with what we're talking about until I explain how important it is to understand all your tendencies and get some insights. This is going to help you become a better presenter, a better performer, help make you even more comfortable, and also make you much more likable for your audience. And as the old saying goes, how do you get to Carnegie Hall or Carnegie Hall? It's practice. So one of the things that I do is I practice something I call theater of mind. I imagine myself being on stage. I frequently do and take as many speaking opportunities as I can, and I also put myself in state before I go to bed. So as I got ready for you today, one of the things that I did is I thought a lot about you, being here with you, being able to answer your questions and support you in any way that I could so that you are going to be successful. And when I say you, it means I have a list of all of my clients and my customers, and I know when I look at all the names, I'm like, okay, I know what business you're in, I know what your outcome is, I know what your passions and your joys are, and some of the problems as well, and I think about that as I'm presenting. So the more you know about your customer and the better you know them as individuals, it allows you to make much better content and make it contextually useful. Okay, so next up are the three, or the critical components of influencing and persuading. Now, one of the things that I want to give to you, if you haven't received it already, is my new book, which is How to Be a Video Interview Pro. Now, this is a free book, and I'm going to make sure that I show you where to get that in just one moment here. Let me find it. It is right here. I'll put that up for you. So you can get that at videointerviewbook.com for free. There's also a link inside the website and right on the left-hand side of the website. You can get it in PDF format. That's the free link. You can get it in Kindle. You can also get it the hardcover, or the paperback version rather. And these are some strategies on how to look your very, very best when you or your audience is doing interviews with you. So I really encourage you to grab this. For one thing, it's an opportunity, if you're familiar with Disruptosaurus. He's my little comic book character. You can see him here on screen. He's my little buddy, but what he is all about is getting attention. That's what Disruptosauruses do, and I want to make sure that I help you get attention. Now, the video that I just recorded is also inside the membership site. If you go to the bonus tab and then scroll down to How to Be a Video Interview Pro, I recorded that at Make Market Lunch at Academy Live. It's only 15 minutes long, and it's something I think will help you as well. So here are a few components of influencing and persuading. The first of which is understanding flow. Now, one of the downloads that I have that we're going to go through in a little while is the show flow of an actual program, and I'm going to explain how a flow works. Now, I've talked about this before, but it's very important that you follow a script, even if it's one in your head, and you stick to it, because oftentimes when you start presenting, it's easy to get nervous. You might forget some really critical things. I have made full presentations on stage before without mentioning the price of my program, which is insane, but I've done it because I forgot. Now, the next one is engagement. And what do I mean by engagement? Well, it's how do you get people to start clicking and typing and paying attention to you. Next, an idea called seeding. This is seeding an offer. That's letting people know that there's an offer that's about to happen or occur. And then, what's your body language? Okay, that's very, very controllable. But when you're on camera, how you move, and it makes a big difference in terms of your ability to influence and persuade. And finally, your costume. And you said it right. Everything we wear is a costume. People remember us and they judge us based upon what we wear, and we also behave differently depending on what we wear as well. Now, the next item is flow. I should call this the first item. So let's talk a little bit about what flow is. I'm going to show you a couple links, and these are available to be downloaded right now, and I'm actually going to bring them up and show them to you. So what I'm going to do right now is cut to my video and bring this up on screen for you so you can actually watch and see these with me. And you're certainly welcome to open them up yourself. If you haven't downloaded them, you can open them up, and they're available right on the page that you're looking at right now. So I'm going to do that right this minute. The first one is the show flow for the Make Market Launch It Live event. Okay, and what I'm going to do for you right now is cut to that so you can see as I scroll through it. And what this is this is kind of like the instruction manual when we create a program. Now, I will explain to you why this is so important and what's going to be on it in a moment. But the bottom line is, whether you're doing something alone or you're doing it with a group, this can make the difference between making $10,000 and making $50,000. And it's all about the planning and the pre-planning that you go in. And look, I'd like to say that all of us can get on, just turn on the camera and just wing it and yap. But the first few times you do this, the closer you stick to a script, the better. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to just go through this and explain what is going on. So you'll see that the first thing is I have it dated and timed, what it is, and then also what our offers are going to be in terms of what our payments are going to be. And then you can see here we have something that's the time, the duration, who's on, the topic title, and how they are on the show. So you can see the very first thing that we do is we have something right here that we call a pre-show. Now, if you're using Wirecast or you are using the same system I'm using right now, which is the TriCaster, or using a live stream hardware device or another service or product called vMix or one from Blackmagic Design, they all will allow you to play a media file, which could just be a video. And you'll notice even when you come to this event, if you show up early, I always have a little video that is rolling ahead of time with a countdown timer, and maybe I'll have some music playing in the background or something like that. The whole idea is people might show up early. You want to make sure that they have something to look at while they're waiting. Now, we actually play clips of past events. It might be speaking talks that I've done, anything that might grab someone and get them interested and do something we call pre-indoctrination. That just gets them interested in what's going to go on and what's going to happen next. Okay, so the next thing that we have is here, 2 minutes before the program begins, I play, in this case, we have made a little intro that might be something that's kind of funny. And when I say it's going to be kind of funny is we've done, if you've, and it's inside the membership site, we have the pre-roll for the Threes Company theme that Ed and Pam and I did. And the whole idea is if we can entertain a little bit, we're going to do that. Sometimes we show us getting ready before the show, but it could be something really simple that we shoot just on an iPhone and pre-roll it. Again, it's something that will get people connected with us as people. We might show a weak part of us, a vulnerable side of us, something that's sensitive, something that's unique, and again, something memorable. And for example, the number of great comments that we get from people who have watched that Threes Company theme is off the charts. So that's an example of something that's worked for us really, really well. Next, you can see here, the first thing we do when the camera goes live, in this case at noon, and it's about 10 minutes, is It's like, hey everyone, we're here, welcome. Here's what we're going to cover today. And if you're just joining us right now, make sure you introduce yourself in chat, tell us who you are, where you live, and what you do for a living. And then if I do have another camera and I have other guests, I'll say, hey, and welcome my friend over here, whatever it may happen to be. You know, it's again, the whole idea is to get the chat rolling. And as I say, both in this book and in all of our programs, it's our goal is to get eyes, ears, and fingers busy and keep them busy all the time. But the chat is the fastest way to connect with your audience and get to know who's there, and also find out what their objections are, what they're interested in, what their fears are. And that becomes your most valuable research data you'll ever have for creating more great content. Okay? So the next thing is we also mentioned raffles, and we might do a little bit of Q&A. And then I'm going to do something that's going to create an emotional bond with my audience. That's what this one is here. And this particular one is how a product changed my life. Now, the whole point is if you can tell a story to the audience that gets them in the mood, again, gets them more emotionally connected and bonded with you, and it has a direct connection with your product or service or whatever you're selling, people are going to remember that. They're going to remember that about you. Okay? It never ceases to amaze me, but when I tell people about my wife's foundation and the work we're doing in Africa, for example, it always, always endears me to the audience, because they're like, okay, this guy's not all about the money. So anytime you can talk about a cause, the key thing is it's got to be relevant to the event you're doing. Okay? And in a previous episode, we talked about the theme. So the whole deal is storytelling is going to create that deep bond and that deep connection, and have people sticking around thinking, oh man, this person's really deep and they're really interesting and I'd like to be part of their lives. Okay? So next up, what we do then is after that, I will actually bring up the offer. Okay, so now I don't always do that, but this is something that I know will work with our particular audience. Now sometimes I may do some teaching or some training right before that. So I'm going to give people a gigantic, juicy nugget. So for example, I teach, how to be comfortable on camera, how to be a video interview pro, and teach some of your best content that might be inside your product, because then you can say, let me give you an example of what's going to be inside my program. By the way, that it also seeds the offer. In other words, it lets people know that they are here to learn more, but also to buy something. Okay? So what happens next is I like to have, here's an interview. Now in this particular case, we'll have a, this is a really short mini interview. Now if there's someone else on stage or on set, here Pam might tell her origin story, and she would also then teach something, how to turn your ideas into income. Okay? And then we'll do a quick pitch. And then here is a sales commercial. Now you're going to learn more about this in the final segment, which is the profit segment. I'm going to talk about one of our secret weapons, which is the 10-minute close, which is completely automated, that's reusable. But this is just a way to play a video that's going to get people to take action. The most important thing to know, and I will be talking about this more in the profit section, but if you don't ask for the sale, you don't get sales. Our sales are wiggly all day long, and when we say right now's the time to click the big orange button, that's when all the sales come in. And if you're not reminding people that there's an orange button there, they're going to get mesmerized with your content. All right, then we come back. Now in this particular case, we're going to have a success story. Now why do we have a success story? Well, the reason for that is we want social proof. We want to show the audience someone just like them who's used the product, gotten results, show them a before, show them an after, show them some physical proof, you know, and if you can't make financial claims, if you can't make health claims, show a photo, show a video, demonstrate. Like even if you can't make financial claims, you can show someone talking about and showing their brand new car, their brand new house, maybe some pictures of a vacation they were on, maybe the new school that their children are being sent to. You can imply wealth creation, okay? There's nothing against the law from doing that. All right. So, again, another testimonial video. And then here we go. Here's another training. So in this case, it's a little 15-minute training with Ed. Now he tells his origin story, who he is, where he came from. Now you'll notice that this particular scenario has multiple hosts on it. Now you don't have to have multiple hosts to have a successful live cast. I want you to know that very, very clearly. I do them solo. I'm happy to do them solo. Sometimes they work if you practice a little bit, okay? Next, we go through, again, after that, we have another offer. And then a little, in this case, I play a little video. Another interview. Here's one with John Assaraf. Another testimonial. Here's something different. It's a hot seat. You'll notice everything in general, not all of them, but they're around 5 to 15 minutes each. Here's a term. Just so you know what the terms are, C to A stands for call to action. A sizzle reel is simply just a little short video that would be, like in our case, a sizzle reel of a live event, because if we include tickets to an upcoming live event, we want people to know what to expect and know what they feel like. Know that there's other people just like them there. Okay? Again, here we'd include some videos. And again, these are long shows, but they just basically rotate around a training segment, an interview, a call to action, and Q&A. And we rotate through those over and over and over again for as long as the program exists. Just know that you should, at a minimum, bring in the close or the sales close every 40 to 50 minutes, and never assume that people who are watching you right now have been there the whole time. So you can repeat yourself very, very frequently. You're going to notice people ask the same questions over and over again. And that tells you either you didn't explain it very well the first time, they weren't paying attention, or they weren't there. So never assume that your audience has been there any longer than just a couple of minutes. All right. So again, it's just a rotation. And then when it comes time to close, we get to the call to action. Okay, so here we go. There's the final overview. So now, why I give you this show flow is to show you a lot of variety. Now, it would be absolutely reasonable and absolutely possible for you to just do a really, really straightforward program with absolutely minimal content. And right now, I can draw that out for you so you can see what it looks like and give that to you right here. So I'm going to actually go to my whiteboard for a couple minutes and draw out a really basic example of a show. All right, so I'm going to actually get a different pen. And feel free to submit any questions you may happen to have, right? So the key thing is, whatever your start time is here, so I'll call this the start. Right before it would be pre-show. And I usually like to start rolling the video. It also lets me test stuff out. Anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes ahead of time, okay? That gives you a little bit of buffer in case something breaks. When the show begins, you take about 10 minutes to welcome, encourage interaction, give them an idea what to expect, and seed the offer. I'll talk more about seeding in a moment, but effectively, you're here today because you want to learn more about benefit. How to make videos, how to train, how to create products on the fly, how to create your own online TV show, how to make podcasts that connect with. Those would be all reasons. So you remind them every step of the way. And I'm going to show you a complete A to Z step-by-step system that will help you do that. Okay? So that's that 10 minutes. And then usually, again, in 10 to 20 minute blocks, you would do some training, another 10 to 20 minutes of social proof. A social proof can be an interview, and then about a 10-minute for a close. So if you add that up, 10 plus 20 plus 20 or 10 plus 10 plus 10 or whatever, you usually want to hit your first close within 50 minutes so you don't lose that audience. Oops, I'm off of here. So 50 minutes. Okay? So that's our goal. And then from there on, you're going to recycle and do the train, the social proof, and the close, and just rotate through that throughout the day and whenever you're doing your program. That's your basic flow. And I'll tell you that rules were made to be broken. If you find that you have a format that works better for you, fantastic. I encourage it. I just want to know what you're doing and know it works. But what we do know is that this follows a basic infomercial formula. It also follows a PBS formula. So I'd recommend, before you try to break the formula or think that you know better, do it the way we do it first and follow the show flow that I give you so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And once you do better than we are, that's when you start making modifications. Or you make modifications once you develop enough experience in front of the camera and in front of your audience. All right, so let's continue on here. I think that is it for that particular segment. So let me bring up our trusty friend, the keynote presentation here again, as I zoom back in. Hope you're enjoying yourself. I certainly am. Now we're going to talk a little bit about engagement, and specifically what it takes to engage with your audience. And I've already told you a little bit about that, but there is a bonus, and you'll see that right here. Let me show the screen to you. Full screen. Underneath the bonus section, I have the Webcast Profit Toolkit sales presentation, which is from the recent Make Market Launch Academy live event. That's where I sold this product. And also the JJ Virgin Webcast, which is the Make Market Launch Academy presentation. Now, over the next few months, I am going to be sending you links to live shows that I'll be producing, and I will also be giving you some other previous shows that I've produced that you can watch and review. For now, if you watch the JJ Virgin one, you'll see the one that we actually did on stage, and you'll see how we engaged not just a live studio audience, but our online audience as well. So the key thing is just see what's done. Now, the reason I give you the stage presentation is I had a lot of languaging embedded in there, a lot of ways that I told stories to engage with an audience, and that thing was performed for speed. I had about an hour and 10 minutes, and people started walking and buying the product within about 30 minutes after I had started. So you're going to see that there's a lot of psychology that takes place, and I encourage you to watch that. And also, I uploaded the keynote presentation so you can model that as well. That is probably I would consider one of my most perfect sales presentations I've ever created, and you can model that. But just watch that video, watch look through the keynote file, and get some ideas and inspiration from that. All right, next up, we're going to talk a little bit about seeding. Now, seeding, again, is this whole notion of getting people to want to buy your product. And one of the ways you seed a product is using something we call the Mary Kay formula. And you want to answer these rotating questions that are going on through everyone's head all the time, which is this easy? Does it work? And can I do it, or will it work for me? If you can answer those questions, people will flock to buy your product. Now, one of the ways that you gain influence and persuade is you need to get that viewer to say to themselves, I like this person. They really know what they're talking about. I think they can help me. And those are writer-downers. Again, I really like this person. They really know what they're talking about. They're sharp as a tack, and I think they can help me. If you trigger those things, you're in. And if you can follow up with the Mary Kay formula as well. Okay? So seeding is just knowing that all roads lead to the outcome or the sale. And all that means is every single word, every sentence, every interview, every demonstration, every prop, everything that you've learned in the past few videos needs to be focused on whatever the outcome of your video is. So if you want them to buy something, don't be talking about stuff that will get them thinking about something else. And by all means, never do anything that can send someone away from the page you are on. That's why you don't talk about links and share links and stuff like that. Okay? Next, get that viewer to imagine themselves using the product. Get them into an aspirational mode as well as an inspirational mode, and sell the dream. What's it going to be like when you own my program? Every step of the way you are overcoming objections. So from the moment a show begins, I say things like, this will work for you in your business, no matter where you live. And then I start providing examples of that. And that's why I ask people, what kind of business do you have? For example, say Mary just said that she is a nutritionist. And it looks like Bob just said he's a chiropractor. And we have Fred over here who's an automotive engineer, or whatever it is. I want to make sure that I cover all those, because someone will go, oh, wow, he's talking to me. The more specific you are to a specific market, the more you will sell. Okay? Next, embed results continually. So one of the things I'm sure to do is I'll say, now, you can imagine yourself turning on your computer, setting it up, and beginning your first show and doing what I'm doing right now, which is saying, hi, welcome to this program. It's so great for you to be here. And make sure you introduce yourself, okay? I want you to imagine yourself starting your own TV show. So that's, again, I want to embed that experience in your head and get you thinking about what it's going to be like. And you need to do that too. But again, getting back to what I was saying earlier, is everything is on purpose. Every word, every interview, every action must lead to a sale. Now, I have a special bonus that I added for you, or will be adding as soon as it's active, which is click on bonus, and then it's how to make a perfect video interview testimonial. I've been working on the content for that right now, and you'll see that very shortly unless you're watching a replay of this. Next item, body language. Okay. Now, body language is so unbelievably important, and the more I pay attention to it now, the more I think about it, and it affects me. So here's a couple key big ideas. First of all, posture or power posture. In other words, you need and want to lean in while you're speaking, or have victory poses, okay? Make sure you are expressing yourself and getting people to feel what you're feeling right now, which is get them feel like they're having power, okay? Next one is, I use my hands and my arms to speak from the heart. So I do something, I call it Jesus arms, and I think that's probably one of the next ones, okay? Maybe I took that away so I wouldn't offend anyone. But the whole idea is you reach out and keep your hands. It's a little bit hard to see here because of where my camera is, but you want to, hold out your hands, keep them, and speak from the heart. In other words, you're going to emanate from your midsection. You don't want your hands around your crotch, and you don't want to have them higher than your shoulders, so it looks a little bit weird. Okay? Next one. Get rid of gadgets unless they're props. So you don't want to be fiddling around with your phone and have physically noticeable objects in your hands, and make sure you're not a picker. So what you really have to do is just watch yourself on video, but picking your nails, that kind of thing, anything that could make someone nervous by watching you as you're nervous is going to make them nervous and less likely to buy, because they're not paying attention to you, they're paying attention to your fidgetiness. And that's easy to make it go away if you just watch a couple of your videos. That's why it's just important to get in this game. And also, just remember to smile. Makes you a lot more likable. It's free. It puts happy chemicals inside your body. And anytime you can laugh and create a laugh, you're also a lot more likable as well. And like I said earlier, you want to watch yourself, review what you've done, and take some notes. So one of the things I'm about to do as I enter into my next set of sales presentations is I'm going to watch the same video that I gave to you, which is that platform presentation, and I'm going to watch that while I'm looking through my scripts and my show flow to think about all the different things that I could have done better or did it a little bit differently that's going to improve my likability, the deep connection. Maybe I forgot something, and I just write them down. And again, that's why it's so important that you just get in this game. Imperfect action taken quickly is going to get you to the promised land. Do not wait. Do not hesitate. No excuses are allowed, okay? So next one is your voice. Now, I will tell you, I have been, as of right now, I've been on stage for almost a week straight, and I'm about to go into 2 more days of performing, and then I've got 2 days off, and then I'm going to be in front of camera for 2 long 8-hour days again, and before I get a little bit of a rest. So one of the things that I notice is my throat is fairly hoarse and sore. So there's a couple things you can do to protect your voice. The first of which is I keep a big glass of water next to me all the time. This is really important that you just drink lots of water. Now, I drink out of mason jars because I measure them. So this is a 20-ounce jar, so I just drink a lot of these things all the time. Like that. Now, my doctor recently gave me some licorice root extract, which I can mix with my water, which also soothes the throat. And then there are also some soothing things if you're speaking a lot and you notice some hoarseness or harshness. Another very important thing is try not to drink any alcohol for sure the night before you are presenting to preserve your voice. It will make a big, big difference for you. And that is just an important thing, because otherwise what happens, your voice box relaxes at night and you're more likely to snore and wake up with a sore throat. So if you haven't ever taken any voice lessons, speaking from the diaphragm allows you to project. It has a deeper, stronger voice, even if you're a woman. Next is being able to vary your cadence and speech for variety. So you'll notice sometimes I will be, and it's natural, I'll be super, super, super excited. And I'll be speaking to you and I'm just going to get into it like this. And then other times if I'm talking about something that is very important to me, I'm going to slow down. And you don't have to be at a peak state all the time in order to be a dynamic speaker, okay? Again, you don't have to worry about this stuff all at once, but these are things you start to notice and start paying attention. Preachers become very good salespeople because they know how to get an audience excited. And again, this is just one of those things that the more of these you do, the better you're going to get, and you're going to see based on the chat how people are reacting and responding to you. And get used to your own voice. The reason why most people don't like their own voice is because they haven't heard their own voice. If you've just been listening to yourself speak through your own ears, mouth to ear, you don't know what your own voice sounds like. So the truth is, I listen to myself a lot now, and I pay attention, and I know what I sound like, and you just get used to it. The reason why you don't like your own voice, if you don't like your own voice, is because you haven't listened to it. The more you listen to it, the more you'll like it, and the more you'll be able to control it too. And the same goes for watching yourself perform. You're going to become a lot more compassionate towards yourself, a lot more empathic. And look, you're your own worst critic. When you show up with a smile and some passion, people are just going to love you. Right. Next one, practice and record your pitches and watch them. I used to not do it at all, but now I have them transcribed too. I pay attention to my language patterns. And this is a bonus, but consider singing and taking some voice lessons. It's going to make you, again, a lot more listenable. You're going to like your voice more, and you're going to be a lot better at pitching too. So the next one is your costume. And the reason I say costume is, here we go, wrapping your package. And this came out of How to Be a Video Interview Pro, which is, it's not hard to look sharp. Okay, so the brief lesson here is no matter what you wear, it's a costume. You only get one first impression. That's number one. Next, you want to dress the way you want to be perceived. Okay, so if you want to be perceived as a baker or a dancer or an artist or a business person, make sure you wear the appropriate costume. And you can be an individual, but just don't be a slob about it. For years, I wore Costco jeans and Costco shirts, and I didn't even know they didn't fit well until I finally got some nicely fitted shirts. And if you don't know the difference, I'll tell you what. Go to Nordstrom or Macy's and get yourself a stylist. They're free. Now, yes, they're going to sell you some more expensive clothes, but it's worth every penny, because the first time you close a deal, you're going to make up that difference. Ever since I got nicely fitted clothes where I had a stylist actually pick them out for me, my sales have been flying out the roof. And I think I take a lot more pride in my appearance as well. And back where I came from and the way I was raised, you know, it was like you'd be called names if you were too spiffy and dressed too nicely. So again, I hid behind being ordinary. So don't hide yourself. Instead, allow your clothing to communicate and express more of who you are. And the other thing that I put a note on here is consider, there are some companies, one's called Trunk Club, another one's called Bombfell. They actually send you boxes of clothes. I know there are things like that for women too. Just do a search on Google for Trunk Club or Bombfell and personal stylist and stuff like that. There's a lot of resources that are out there. So before we get into the Q&A, I've got a couple of action items for you. I'll go through those with you right now. First of all, watch the Make Market Launch It Webcast Profit Toolkit keynote. I gave you a link to that earlier. Then watch the JJ Virgin show recording. That's also inside the membership site under bonuses. And register for the Webcast Profit Toolkit webcasts. I'm going to end up deconstructing those and giving you the show flow for those that you'll be able to study. They are coming up as of right now, if you're watching this live, in the next week. And start working on your own show flow. Start practicing it. Also, gather social proof in the form of testimonials and interviews. And then get yourself a costume. Find something to make yourself look even sharper than you already are. Get a nicely fitted shirt. Ladies, get yourself a stylist if you haven't had one, and find out what your colors are. Find out what your palette is. I wore black and white for years and years, and I had someone walk up to me, the stylist, and she said, "Not your colors, buddy. They don't make you look right." So now, I mean, I never would have worn a purple shirt not long ago, but I found that now I get more compliments from the clothes. I've never gotten compliments on my clothing before. It makes a big difference in how people perceive your value to them and whether or not they want to be affiliated or associated with you. It's worth a small investment. A couple $100 is going to make you all that and a lot more later on. Okay, so in the next segment, what we're going to be talking about is profiting. And we're going to talk about more ways to keep the audience engaged, how to present your offer, how to use media to close deals. I'm going to show you the 10-minute close. And of course, there's going to be more Q&A. And again, that's going to be in the profit segment. So at this point, what we're going to do is we are going to move on over to Q&A. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check some of the questions that have been asked inside the portal. So forgive me as I look off camera for just a couple of moments. I see a lot of activity in here. So I'll go through as many of these as I possibly can. Thank you for participating. And just want to acknowledge, wow. Here we go. This is interesting. Okay. All right. So, yeah, a lot of interesting, good questions. So I appreciate this. I'm going to actually start. So go ahead and continue to submit them. I will be approving those, so you'll see them appear. And know, again, if you refresh your screen, it might cause the video to restart. If you're using Safari, unless they fix the bug, I haven't checked it, it might start the video at the very beginning. You probably don't want to be looking at this in Safari. Okay, so I got Marlene said costume. Okay, grooming, manicure, makeup, and yes, I do like the purple shirt, so thank you for that. Okay. Another question from Marianne about talking about the experience with props and guests sitting in my booth. Lessons learned. Also, what do you do to feel comfy before getting on? Okay, writing on whiteboard. All right, so here we go. Lots of great questions here. So Marlene, and I'm going to just go through your batch here. So first of all, my experience with props and guests in my booth. So what I always have is I always have stacks of props that I set aside, and in fact in the beginning of my keynote presentations I actually make a list of all the props that I know I'm going to need before I go on camera. So I have a list of them, and I actually put those in my show flow. So what you don't see on camera is I actually have a show flow on my screen, and I scroll through it so I can keep an eye on it, or I have my producer, in that case of Jesse, if I have help. Like right now, I'm doing all this solo all by myself, but I'm actually just going through it line by line and covering my topics. My other big shortcut is having a keynote presentation so I can just click through it like I did today. You know, I didn't memorize all this stuff. I just created an outline, pasted it into a keynote presentation, and I clicked through it. And it reminds me of the stories I need to tell you in order to educate you. Okay, so so with regards to having guests, I want to make sure that if I have a guest in my booth or sitting with me, that they are enhancing the experience of the program. That's what it's all about. They're either enhancing or they're taking away from, and that goes for any interview. So if you have any question at all, you know, shorten that interview. If they're killing sales, you don't see sales coming in, shorten it. If your gut tells you that something's going wrong, stop it. Stop it before it turns into a problem. It'll take guts. It won't be your natural inclination. It took me years to act on my instincts, but I do it now. I'm very vocal and very direct. And I always tell people, look, if this is short, don't take it personally. It just means I'm not seeing the chat behavior or the sales behavior that I'm anticipating or used to. Another question is, how do I feel comfy before I get on camera? First thing, the night before I drink lots and lots and lots of water. Before I go on camera, lots and lots of water. And yes, I run to the bathroom before I get on camera as well. Very, very important. One thing I will tell you is, as soon as you're on camera, no matter how experienced you are, adrenaline kicks in and it prevents your body from doing wacky things, all right? In times of war, your body becomes a giant pucker and it stores stuff. I'll leave it at that. But what I'll tell you is your body does detox after you do these long webcasts and live casts. Okay, and how do I get used to peering in front of the camera? Well, the biggest thing is I watch replays and I see where I wasn't doing it, and it reminds me that I want to have a relationship with you. I'm talking to you right now. I'm experiencing a connection with you, and I don't want to lose that. So I just look at the camera lens as though it's a pair of eyes. And I don't have a conversation looking off to the side at someone. This is weird, right? I want to make sure I'm looking at you, and that's how I do it. Okay? So another great question, which is about patching in remote guests. What goes wrong? What goes right? How to ad-lib? How to keep them on time? Well, if you really want to know my secret, here's what it is. We're doing them today, in fact. JJ Virgin is in the other studio interviewing a whole bunch of guests, and they're going to be pre-recorded. And she and I are going to be wearing the same clothes, or we actually have duplicate clothing. We have stage clothes or costumes. We have the same shirts and same jackets, and we'll wear those. And so we pre-record our interviews. That way, when I say, okay, we're going to roll a quick video right now, and when we come back, I'll be interviewing so-and-so. A lot of the time that isn't live, even though it looks and feels live. So you'll notice that during most of my interviews, I try to keep them as short as possible. They're not horribly interactive. If I'm interacting, that's when they're live. If I'm not, it means they're actually pre-recorded. And inside Wirecast, inside TriCaster, inside Livestream, all that software lets you play a pre-recorded video. So otherwise, if you're doing a live interview, you are definitely going to want an assistant to help connect and make that tech work. Otherwise, it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable. And if you're uncomfortable, the viewers are uncomfortable. Okay? And then, let's see. Okay, this is great. Elaine asks a fantastic question. What kind of alternative for social proof should you have if you're at the beginning of creating products? It's a really good article. So what you do is you use celebrity examples. So if it's book, like say you're trying to sell books, for example, or publishing, you'll say, just look at these unbelievably popular authors and how successful they are. And you could talk about Darren Hardy, or if it's a chef, you know, talk about famous people. Use celebrities. Get some stats on what's happened for them. Another thing is, even if you're at the cycle and someone hasn't used your product, maybe they've used your service. Or get a personal endorsement from someone as good as you are. There's always a workaround. Or the best thing is, if you have a product and it actually works, I would hope that you have been a test subject. Okay? So what you'll be the life as a laboratory. You're going to talk about how it's worked for you. So the truth is, when I started doing all these webcasts and livecasts, we went years before other people were really doing them. And it wasn't until I started working with other people that I started doing them with and for other people. But even when I rolled out this product, I had me as an example. I just told my story. So use your story. Tell your origin story. But you can pick up some proof from somewhere or borrow it from, like I say, a celebrity or a business that's using it. But that is a beautiful, beautiful question. Okay, and let's see. So there's a question about the show flow. If you don't see all the show flow stuff, I'll make sure that all that's up there. Okay, what are some ways to, okay, so this is something from Michael. He says, what are some ways to practice or learn storytelling? What do you recommend? Practical course, or what do you reckon is best? Okay, so the best thing you can do is watch TED Talks all the time. Have them on your phone everywhere you go. Listen to them, watch them, and pay attention to the structure. And then get the book Talk Like TED by Carmine Gallo. There's lots and lots of TED resources. You can also find his videos for free on YouTube. There's another great book called Resonate. Look that up. But there's lots and lots of resources on how to write or how to do a TED Talk. Watch the most popular TED Talks. Pay attention to the structure and the format and the flow. And my best advice to you is write your own TED Talk. Every one of my speeches that sells began as a 10-minute talk, a short 10 to 15-minute talk. And if you watch the video of how I sold the Webcast Profit Toolkit, that follows a specific pattern or flow. But the only way to do it is start writing and start practicing and get in front of a stage or do a webcast. It doesn't matter if it's one person, 10 people, or make some videos and look how many thumbs up and thumbs downs you get, and just have a nice thick skin. If someone says you suck, guess what? You did it, and now you know what someone's perception of you is. It doesn't mean you suck. It might mean that you didn't connect with that particular person. And look, people are jerks online. You get used to that, but it doesn't have anything to do with you. What matters is that you're in there, you're doing it, and you're practicing, and you took action. And the only way you're going to get good is by practicing over and over again. I sucked when I started. I was horrible. But the biggest factor, what makes great entrepreneurs successful, is being resilient. Okay? That's a great question. All right, another fantastic question from Out of Dodge. Okay, Mike, have you ever used a teleprompter, or would you recommend it for a client who is camera shy? So, this is a really, really, really good question. I use teleprompters all the time in the studio when I'm doing videos, okay? It keeps me on track, on focus. Otherwise, I use keynotes. Now, for a client who is shy, they are usually shy because they're not talking to one person. They don't need a teleprompter or a tool to fix their problem. What they need to do is get connected to someone. And that's why they need to watch my How to Get Connected on Camera video. Now, what that ultimately will do, and the Halo process, which I'm uploading as in the bonus section as well, will be in there. That's something that can work. So the other thing is how to be a video interview pro. Make sure you're give your client a link to this book and let them download it. There's also an interview. So here's the deal. People who are shy are trying to speak to everyone, and they're afraid of what everyone will say about them or think about them. Okay? If every single person I've ever met, unless they are diseased, meaning they have like Asperger's or some sort of a problem, can speak to one person and be totally comfortable. People change when they get in front of a camera because they're thinking, because they don't know who they're talking to. It's an anonymous object. So what you do is you get them in a heart space. Breathe, put their hand on their heart, and tell a story that they love to tell their child or their daughter or their spouse, or something that made someone laugh one day. And that's the character, that's the person you want on camera. So I used to do little tricks on my clients and my customers. I'd actually put a piece of tape over the camera, you know, it shows the little light that turned it was on. I'd say, okay, I'm going to just stand behind the camera. I'm going to ask you some questions right now. And when we're done with this, then I'll do the recording. But let's just practice first. So here's what we're going to do. And then I just go through it, and I talk to them, and they're laughing, and they're giggling, and they're talking. And I'm like, isn't this fun? You know, are you going to be all set? And they're like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen when the camera's on. And I go, you don't have to worry about it because I recorded that whole thing. And they're like, oh, you kidder. So the whole deal is I tricked them, okay? They acted totally normal because they were having a conversation with me. That's the problem. So back to answering your question. Number one, I do not recommend teleprompters for anyone who hasn't used a teleprompter or isn't going to practice it, okay? People who are reading a teleprompter, you can tell they are just a stupid robot, and they are reading to an anonymous object like this, and no one will ever care about anything they say, or they won't buy anything they say either because this sucks. So don't let them do that. So instead, if they are totally shy, you can give them a keynote presentation. You can say, look, I want you to present this for me and get in rapport with them. There is no camera. There is only me. And I want you to click through and do a presentation just like you do to people that you've known your whole life. But otherwise, I'd play some mind games, and I get them into a mode where they're teaching or they're talking to their favorite person or their best customer in the whole wide world. There's a reason why I teach best customer in the whole wide world. Okay? Again, page 51 in Publish and Profit book. Download this thing. You can give them this book for free. You can give them this book for free. I gave you the PDF. Share it. Also, I'll make sure I give you the video. Actually, it'll be in there. When you give them the book and they text in, they're going to get my How to Be a Video Interview Pro video for free. So just spread this thing, okay? That's why I made it, so you can give it away. All right. Absolutely fantastic question. All right, so Michael just says you have difficulties with technology. All right, Michael, I don't know what to tell you. My cocky side would say move, but if you've got internet, you gotta find someone who's got a fast internet connection. Otherwise, you gotta pre-record it and then play it. But I can't solve crappy internet connections. So I'd say be resourceful. There's got to be an answer, and there's got to be a solution no matter where you live. I can get good internet connections in Africa. All right. And then Michael also said he's got his flights booked for the training in June. So how should you prepare? Watch these videos. Do a show. Just get practiced. All right. Okay. And Michael has some nice comments here. Elaine, I am looking through your questions here. Okay, more questions. Oh yeah, here was a interesting thing that Michael said, and I'm going to acknowledge this, okay? He says, I was surprised about the colors you used, the dark background and then the dark clothes. Yeah, so we did the webcast with JJ, and so here's the thing. We had a live event that we happened to do a webcast at, and the lighting was not optimized for what we did, and we were wearing dark colors. And if I were doing a real live cast and it was just that by itself, I wouldn't have, we would have just had much better lighting. We just didn't have time to do something great, and the camera wasn't as close as it should have been. So that was more of a production issue than anything else, but I do want to acknowledge that. And also, yeah, I know Elaine was talking about slow connections. I mean, here's the bottom line. If you're going to do live casts and web streaming, you need to have at least 2 megabits up and down, and make sure no one else is using your connection while you're doing these things if you're somewhere where, like I say, the connections are crappy. I wish I could do something about it. Okay. Question from Jim about the ideal monitor size to use. It's a good question. Now, at the live training, you're really going to see the setup that I have in front of me right now, and I'll end up doing some more behind the scenes very soon as I do more hardware training. I actually have 21-inch monitors most of the time. I can get them from Costco for 120 bucks. That's what I use a lot of the time. I even use them for teleprompters. I just put a monitor right underneath my camera. So, but you know what? The right size is whatever works best. It just so happens that in my office right now, off on the corner, I have a giant monitor that I use as a preview monitor. So when I'm at the white monitor or the white screen, for example, I can see myself in that while I'm talking to you. So I do have multiple monitors everywhere I go, and I have something called an HDMI splitter. They're cheap. They're about $100. That will allow you to plug in one cable and send out the same signal to multiple monitors. So that's my what I call my ghetto solution. But again, you'll see those when I'm doing the trainings. And yes, Marlene says, got it. Practice, practice, be resilient. And all right, so Marlene says, so there's no gadget or doohickey to put over the lens to stay focused. Here's the thing. Practice. You don't need any gadget. You don't need any shiny objects. What you need is to look in the camera and start smiling. If you need to, take a picture of your kid or your doggy or your puppy, your husband, whoever you love, and tape it. Okay, next one. Okay, yeah. So here's another great question. Here, and this is a real question again. My grandma just broke her hip. She's in the hospital. I'm not in the frame of mind to be on video. How do you overcome or fake it? How do you just deal with the emotional stuff going on, not show your face or body? Okay? So the answer is this. Do you remember that song, The Show Must Go On? So the whole deal is, you can have your drama there. When you're here and I'm with you, there's nothing else except you. I am here to serve you and to love you and to give you the very best I can. And the truth is, I turn it off. And that is a skill that you learn to practice. And when you become absolutely focused on the one, once again, I will reference page 51 in this wonderful book, Publish and Profit. It's all about connecting with the one client and the one customer. When you are speaking and presenting to that perfect customer, that's the only thing on your mind. And you're not denying anything. You're just doing what you need to do. Because guess what? You could have a whole bunch of stuff going on, and if you had a child in need, you could have 100 different things going on, and you'd make your kid the only focus of all your attention in order to save them. And that's what you do when you're in show business. And that is a skill that you can learn and you can do when you put your mind to it. It is not difficult. It is a mindset issue. And that's why I started out with this entire program called Know Thyself, okay? That's where it came from. Do those personality tests. Get to know who you are better and know what your weaknesses and your limitations are so you can coach yourself through these circumstances. Fantastic. All right. So I am, again, just going to double check here and see what other comments we have, but I think we are at the end. See if there's any more. Okay. Great. So there we go. Out of Dodge just said, so true, Mike, when you connect with your perfect avatar emotionally, it's so much easier to see them through or in the lens. Couldn't say it better. And then, am I wearing makeup? I am not wearing makeup. I will tell you that in some circumstances, I do put on cake makeup. And it is just stuff. It's called theatrical cake makeup. You can look it up. You can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it on eBay. And you just get a brush. You can just go to any store and put some on. But sometimes it's worth doing to get rid of shine on your forehead and also make your complexion a little more even as well. It does make a difference. And I know it used to weird me out because real men don't wear makeup, and that means you're GAY if you wear makeup. And look, it's show business. Be there to put on a good show, connect, and do a great job. And if that doesn't feel authentic to you, I understand. But I also would tell you that there may be a time when someone sees you on camera and they're like, holy cow, you are astonishing. I want to work with you. And whatever you can do to get and keep attention and connect with an audience is helpful and useful. And these are just tools. It doesn't mean that's who you are. They're just tools. So I think what I'm going to do is wrap this segment up and let you know that I am here for you, and my goal, my focus for you is to help you be even more successful than you already are. The next training, which is step number 5, is going to be coming up. The dates and times are inside the portal. And we also have the live event. Now, again, if you're watching this and you qualified to be at the live physical training, there are links inside the portal. Make sure you register now because it is filling up, and the hotel block is going to be going away very, very soon. And otherwise, if you have this and you did not get it with that particular bonus, just know, or with that add-on rather, you will have access to watch the training live while it is happening. And that is currently scheduled for June 8th, 9th, and 10th. So what I want to do then is thank you so much for being here with me today. It means the world that you're part of the Webcast Profit Toolkit. Go ahead, continue to submit your questions. Know that right now I am looking for success stories, implementation of any sort. I don't care how small. I don't care if you have an audience of 1. Talk about what's going on. Submit and share some of your stories and what you're doing inside Facebook. Get some support from the community as well. Get some feedback for some of your programs and shows. So in the meantime, though, thank you so much for being here. Your participation means the world, and I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of shows you put together very, very soon. Bye-bye.